Harlem, 1948. Mount Olivet Baptist Church, Sunday afternoon. Over 400 people squeezed into wooden pews. The organ played "His Eye is on the Sparrow." Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. delivering a eulogy. Then, Bumpy Johnson rose from the second row. The crowd fell silent. He walked toward the casket, slow, measured steps, each one echoing softly. The organ stopped. The preacher paused. 400 people stopped breathing. Bumpy reached the front, looked down at Nurse Sadie Mae Washington. Serene expression. White lace dress. Heavy makeup on her face and neck. Others saw a woman gone too soon. Bumpy saw something else. A lie. He leaned closer, studied her neck, then pressed his fingers gently to her throat. When he pulled them away, his fingertips were caked in thick stage makeup. He turned toward the funeral director by the wall. "Why is there so much makeup on her neck?" The man went pale, sweat beading. Bumpy pulled back her collar, and what the room saw next made women cry out, men turn their faces. Rope burns. Deep, ugly, purple and black. Wrapped around her throat like a noose made of bruises. This wasn't natural. This was an illness. This was murder. And in the next 96 hours, Bumpy Johnson would kill 3 men, force 6 NYPD officers. To resign and forever change how Harlem dealt with police and power. But to understand what happened that Sunday, you need to know who Sadie Mae Washington really was and how one witness set off a chain of events no one could stop. September 1948. Harlem, a neighborhood where black families worked double shifts to make ends meet, where everyone knew each other, where community wasn't just a word, it was survival. And Sadie Mae Washington was the soul of that survival. She was 30. Born September 14, 1918, right on 139th Street. Her mother, Dorothy Washington, had washed clothes for 6 years. Straight to put her daughter through nursing school at Lincoln Hospital. Sadie graduated top of her class in 1941. By 1948, she'd helped deliver over 300 babies at Harlem Hospital. Worked the graveyard shift for 7 years, never missed a single night. She never married. When people asked, she'd smile and say, "Harlem's my home. These babies, they're mine." Every Sunday, she sang soprano in the choir. Every Friday, she visited elders on her block bringing soup, checking vitals, or just sitting and listening. People didn't just admire her, they loved her. Not like you love a singer. Like you love the person who helped deliver your child or sat beside you when death came close. Sadie had a younger brother, Marcus Washington, 28, her total opposite. He gambled, drank, switched jobs constantly. By 1947, he'd burned every bridge in Harlem. So he moved to New Haven, Connecticut, told Sadie he was working the docks. What he actually found was a poker table and a loan shark named Vincent Maronei, January 1948. Marcus took $800 from Maronei, said he'd pay within 60 days. Maronei charged 20% interest, compounded monthly. By March, Marcus owed $1,152 and had no way to pay. Maronei sent collectors. Marcus saw them coming and vanished upstate, told no one. Not Sadie, not his mother, just disappeared. By September, 6 months later, with interest still rising, the debt had grown past $2,000. Maronei didn't care. He wanted his money. And if Marcus wasn't around, he'd make someone else pay. That someone was Sadie. Now here's what most people never knew. Bumpy Johnson had known Sadie since she was 8. Winter 1926. Bumpy was 24, running numbers for Madame St. Clair. One night he got into a blade fight with rivals. Took 3 deep cuts across the ribs. He stumbled into an alley on 139th, bleeding bad. Couldn't risk a hospital cops meant prison. That's when 8-year-old Sadie found him. She ran home, brought her mother. Together, they pulled him. Inside, stitched him with thread and iodine and hid him 4 days until he could walk. Bumpy never forgot. Over the next 28 years, he made sure Sadie and her mother never needed anything. When her father died in '39, Bumpy paid for the funeral. When nursing school bills came due, Bumpy paid those too. No debt. No favors. Just family. To Harlem, she was an angel. To Bumpy, she was blood. Monday, September 6, 1948. Vincent Maronei drove from New Haven to Harlem. Riding with him were Tommy Riachi and Frank Caliber, his 2 top enforcers. One mission: find Marcus Washington. Or pressure someone close enough to pay. A contact in Connecticut gave them Sadie's address. They parked across from her place, on 141st Street. Watched her building Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday morning. They saw Sadie leave for work, return home. But no sign of Marcus. By Wednesday afternoon, Maronei was done waiting. "If the brother won't show," he said, "we take the sister. She pay or she tell us where he is." Wednesday night, September 8, 1948, 11:32 p.m. Sadie Mae Washington walked home from Harlem Hospital. She had just worked a 14-hour double shift. Another nurse called out sick, so Sadie filled in. She was drained. Just 2 blocks from her apartment, a blue Buick rolled up beside her. Connecticut plates. 3 white men inside, Maronei, Riachi, Caliber. The car slowed. Maronei leaned out the window. "You Sadie Washington?" She stopped. Looked at the car. Strangers. White. Late at night. Her gut said something was wrong. "Who wants to know?" "Your brother Marcus owes me $2,000. I'm here to settle up." Sadie's stomach sank. "I haven't seen Marcus since March. I don't know where he is." Maronei smiled. Not a kind smile. A predator's grin. "Then I guess you'll pay it." For him. Riachi moved fast, swung the back door open, grabbed Sadie before she could run. She screamed, high-pitched. Once, loud. Then Ricci's hand was over her mouth, yanking her toward the car. She fought back-kicking, clawing, raking her nails across his face. He grunted in pain. Riachi shoved her into the back seat and climbed. Then after her, Caliber hit the gas. The Buick lurched forward and disappeared down the block. Across the street, on the 3rd floor, Mrs. Ella Brooks sat awake in her armchair. She suffered from insomnia. Most nights from 10 p.m. until nearly 2 a.m., she sat by her window watching the street, watching her neighborhood. She noticed everything. The same blue Buick parked there for 3 days straight. The same 3 white men she'd seen on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. She watched the car pull alongside Sadie, saw a man grab her, heard Sadie scream tear through the night, saw the car race away. Mrs. Brooks sprang to her feet, heart pounding. Her first instinct was to run outside, to shout, to call the police. But Mrs. Ella Brooks was 68 years old. She had lived in Harlem since 1903, 45 years. She understood how things worked. Police didn't rush to help black people. Not fast, not seriously. And when they did come, they often made things worse. She'd seen officers beat her neighbor's son in 1934 for talking back. Seen her friend's daughter arrested in 1941 on charges everyone knew were false. Seen police turn their heads when white men caused trouble. And now, at 11:32 p.m. on a Wednesday night, calling the police felt pointless. What would she even say? Some white men grabbed a Negro woman. The police would ask questions, scribble notes, maybe, but nothing would happen. Not for Sadie. Not for someone like her. But Mrs. Brooks wasn't powerless. She went to her kitchen drawer, pulled out an envelope and a pencil, sat at her small table, and wrote slowly and carefully. License plate Connecticut. Full number. Blue Buick. 3 white men. Time 11:32 p.m. September 8, 1948. Location 141st Street. Took Sadie. Washington. She folded the paper and tucked it inside her Bible. Then she returned to the window and stayed there until sunrise, praying Sadie would come home. Sadie never came home. They drove her to an abandoned warehouse near the East River, a place Maronei, used for collections, intimidation, and making examples. Inside, Maronei tied Sadie to a chair. "Where's your brother?" "I don't know. Please. I haven't seen Marcus since March." Wrong answer. What followed over the next 3 hours was torture. Maronei used rope, burning cigarettes, his fists, anything to force information out of her. He wanted an address, a phone call, something. But Sadie didn't know, truly didn't know. Marcus had disappeared 6 months earlier. He stopped calling, stopped writing. She couldn't give Maronei what she didn't have. By around 2 a.m., Maronei was furious. He'd driven 6 hours to Harlem, spent 3 days watching her building, and she was giving him nothing. He looped the rope around her neck and pulled tight. Last chance. Where is he? Sadie couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Maronei pulled harder. At 2:17 a.m., Sadie Mae Washington stopped breathing. Maronei released the rope, stepped back, looked at Riaki and Caliber. For a moment, no one spoke. Caliber began to panic. "We just killed a nurse, a Negro nurse, in Harlem," he started pacing. "We need to shut this down." Maronei raised a hand. "Think." He thought fast. "We make it look natural." Heart attack. Overworked nurse, night shifts. 30 years old, worked herself to death. "It happens." "How?" Riachi asked. "I know a cop, Patrick Donnelly, 28th Precinct. He's been on our payroll 2 years. We call him. He writes the report. Natural causes. We give him $1,000. This disappears." They wrapped Sadie's body in a blanket and drove her back to her apartment around 3:30 a.m., carried her up 3 flights of stairs, laid her on the bedroom floor, arranging her like she'd collapsed while getting ready for bed. Maronei looked. Around the room, small tidy, photos of Sadie with patients, with newborns she'd delivered. A calendar on the wall, hospital shifts penciled in carefully. For one brief second, something crossed his face. Guilt. Regret. Then he remembered. The $2,000 Marcus owed him. He pulled a number from his pocket and made the call. Thursday morning. September 9th, 1948. 7 a.m. The building superintendent, Mr. Lewis, knocked on Sadie's door. She hadn't shown up for work. The hospital had called. That wasn't like her. Sadie was never late. No answer. He used his master key. Opened the door. Found Sadie on the bedroom floor, face down, one arm stretched forward as if reaching for something. Lifeless. Mr. Lewis ran downstairs and called the police from the lobby phone. At 7:35 a.m., officers Patrick Donnelly and James Murphy arrived. Donnelly entered the bedroom first. He saw the bruise on her cheek, the marks around her neck. Someone had tried to pull the collar up, but the rope burns were still visible. The torn fingernails. This wasn't a heart attack. Murphy knelt, checked for a pulse even though it was obvious she'd been dead for hours. "What do you think, Pat?" Donnelly glanced at Murphy, then at Mr. Lewis standing in the doorway. "Step outside a minute." Mr. Lewis left. The door closed. Donnelly walked to the window and looked down the street. A blue Buick sat 2 blocks away. Maronei's car. Still there. Murphy noticed the change in Donnelly's face. "Pat, what's going on?" "Nothing. We're calling this natural causes. Are you serious? Look at her neck. Heart attack. She fell, hit her face on the nightstand. That's the report. Murphy stared at him. They'd been partners 3 years. He trusted Donnelly, respected him. This is murder, Murphy said quietly. Look at her hands. She fought someone. Donnelly stepped closer. His voice dropped cold, dangerous. Listen to me. This is a dead-colored girl whose brother owed money to the wrong people. If we call this a homicide, it triggers an investigation. That trail leads straight to white men from Connecticut men with ties. That kind of heat, it spills over on them, on us, on everyone involved. So we don't. We write it as cardiac arrest. We close the file. The family gets closure. No one goes to jail. Everyone walks away. Murphy looked at Sadie's body, at the damage, at what had been done to her, at what had been taken. Then he looked at his partner. Murphy had a wife. 2 kids, a mortgage. He'd seen what happened to honest cops dumped in the worst districts, forgotten during promotions or worse. He made his decision. Cardiac arrest. Donnelly nodded once. Smart man. He stepped out to speak with Mr. Lewis. Sir, does Miss Washington have any family we should notify? Yes, her mother, Mrs. Dorothy Washington. She lives over on 139th Street. Thank you. We'll reach out. Donnelly paused. Do you know if the family uses a preferred funeral home? Lewis thought a moment. I believe they've used Raymond Carter, over on Lenox. Perfect. We'll make sure Mr. Carter handles everything respectfully. That same afternoon, Donnelly visited Mrs. Washington's home. He broke the news softly. He suggested Raymond Carter's funeral. Parlor. He's the best in the neighborhood, ma'am. He'll make sure your daughter is taken care of properly. Mrs. Washington, drowning in grief, simply nodded. At 6 p.m. Donnelly met Maronei at a small diner in the Bronx. Maronei handed him a thick envelope, $1,000 in unmarked bills. That night, the official police report was filed. Case No. 482614. Victim, Sadie Mae Washington, age 30. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. Status, closed. Later, Donnelly drove to Carter's funeral home. Carter was in his back office when Donnelly stepped in. Officer Donnelly, what can I do for you? I'm overseeing arrangements for Sadie Washington. Yes, her mother called this morning. The service is scheduled for Sunday. Donnelly shut the office door and sat down. Mr. Carter, this is a delicate matter. Her death was sudden. Heart-related, very tragic. But in some sudden passings, the body. Bruises, discoloration, things the family might misread. Carter raised an eyebrow. I always ensure the deceased look dignified. I know. You have a solid reputation. But this time, I need extra care. If there's any sign, any marks, cover them. Fully. Use whatever's needed. Heavy makeup. They shouldn't see anything that raises more questions. Carter hesitated. Officer, is there something I should know? Donnelly slid an envelope across the desk. $50 for your attention to detail. We want this. Funeral to bring the family peace, not confusion. Carter looked down at the envelope, then at Donnelly. He understood. He had a business, a family, and he'd seen what happened to other black-owned establishments after one complaint. She looked peaceful. You're a good man. Friday, September 10th. The news tore through Harlem like lightning. Nurse Sadie Washington gone. A heart attack at only 30. Grief spread like a storm. Women wept openly. Men who hadn't prayed in years went to church. But something didn't sit right. Sadie had been healthy, always strong, never missed a shift. No history of illness. And neighbors had seen her Wednesday night tired, yes, but laughing. How does a woman like that just fall over and die? Whispers started, doubts. But what could they do? The police said heart attack. The coroner signed the paperwork. The case was done. Mrs. Ella Brooks sat in her chair, envelope in hand. Inside were her notes, the license plate, the time, the description. She'd heard the ambulance on Thursday morning around 9 a.m. and the neighbors talking. Sadie's dead. Heart attack. But Mrs. Brooks had seen the truth. She'd watched those men take Sadie the night before. And now, 16 hours later, she was dead. That wasn't chance. That was murder. But who would listen? The police? The same ones who buried the case in under a day? Mrs. Brooks wrestled with it all day Friday. Prayed. Worried. She thought about Bumpy Johnson. Everyone in Harlem knew who he was. Some feared him. Some respected him. But most agreed on one thing. When the city turned its back, Bumpy didn't. And she remembered something. A moment, years back 1940, maybe 41. She'd seen Bumpy at Mrs. Washington's house, bringing groceries, sitting on the porch, talking with Sadie and her mother like family. Sadie mattered to Bumpy, but if Mrs. Brooks approached him in public, if she walked into his office and asked to speak, word would spread. People would talk. And if those men with Connecticut plates got wind of it, she'd be next. These weren't neighborhood thugs. They were professional, protected. She needed to warn Bumpy, but do it safely, quietly. Friday night, 11:47 p.m. Mrs. Brooks walked the 6 blocks to Small's Paradise. The streets were full enough that she blended in. Just another older woman. Walking home, she climbed the stairs to Bumpy's office above the club. The hallway was quiet. His door was locked. Good. She pulled out the envelope. Inside were the notes she'd written on Wednesday. She tore a fresh slip of paper and wrote carefully. They took her. Wednesday night, 11:32 p.m. 3 white men. Blue Buick. Connecticut plates. Then she wrote the full plate number beneath. No name. No signature. Too dangerous. She slid the note under the door, turned, and walked back down the stairs. Back to her apartment. Praying Bumpy would understand. Praying she had done enough. Saturday morning, September 11th, 1948, 5:45. A.M. Bumpy Johnson arrived at his office. He always came early. He liked the stillness before Harlem woke up. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. There it was. A slip of paper on the floor just inside the threshold. Someone had slid it under during the night. Bumpy picked it up and read, They took her. Wednesday night, 11:32 p.m. 3 white men. Blue Buick. Connecticut plates. Below that a license. Plate number. He read it twice. Then he sat at his desk staring at the words. They took her. He already knew Sadie was gone. Illinois had told him Friday, just after 2 p.m. Bad news, Illinois had said. Sadie Washington passed Thursday morning. Police are saying heart attack. She was only 30. Bumpy had frozen mid-step. What? They found her. Thursday morning, unresponsive, in her bedroom. Cops ruled it natural causes. Heart attack? At 30? Bumpy had known immediately that didn't track. Sadie didn't get sick. She didn't smoke, didn't drink. She climbed 3 flights of stairs every day without losing breath. But the cops said heart attack. The coroner signed off. What was he supposed to do? Now he was holding a slip of paper that said something else entirely. They took her. Not she died. Not she passed. They took her. Someone had seen something Wednesday night. And whoever wrote this knew it wasn't natural. Bumpy picked up the phone. Illinois. Get here. Now. Saturday, 6:30 a.m. Illinois Gordon stepped into the office and instantly saw it on Bumpy's face. What's going on? Bumpy handed him The note got Illinois read it, then looked up. "When did this come in?" "Sometime last night," Bumpy said. "Slid under the door." "You think it's legit?" Bumpy stood by the window. Sadie was 30. Clean lungs, clean liver. Ran night shifts for 7 years. Never took a sick day. Wednesday night, she's walking home. By Thursday morning, she's dead. Cops write it off in 6 hours like it's nothing. He held up the note again. Someone saw her grab it. Blue Buick, 3 white men. Connecticut plates. 16 hours later, she's gone. "That's no coincidence." Illinois nodded. "What do you want me to do?" "Start with the plate. Find out who that car belongs. Tio, where it's from, why it was here. I want names. Every officer who responded, every detective who touched the file, anyone who signed off on that death certificate." "I'm on it," Illinois said. "You'll have them before sundown." "Good. Her funeral's tomorrow. Mount Olivet, afternoon service." "You going?" "I'm going. If this was covered up, I want to know who did it and why." Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Illinois worked every contact he had. The license plate went to Joey Numbers Catalano, the best info man in the city. Joey had eyes in every borough and ears inside half of Connecticut. He called DMV contacts. State troopers, even underground bookmakers in New Haven. By nightfall, Illinois had everything. Blue Buick, Connecticut registration. Belonged to Vincent Maronei, age 42. Occupation: loan shark, freelance enforcer. Known partners: Tommy Riachi, muscle. Frank Calabra, driver. Record: 2 arrests, no convictions. Witnesses always disappeared. Then came the connection. Marcus Washington had borrowed money from Maronei back in January. By March, the debt was over $1,000 and Marcus had vanished. Maronei had been hunting for him ever since. Illinois had the cop list too. Officers Patrick Donnelly and James Murphy were first on scene. Detectives Robert Walsh and Frank Sullivan closed the case. Medical examiners Dr. Leonard Ashford and Dr. Philip Hartman signed the death certificate. No autopsy. He brought it all to Bumpy that night. Bumpy looked through the file. Maronei's photo, his record. The 6 names of lawmen who buried the truth. Where is he now? Best guess, either back in New Haven or still hiding out around here. If he killed Sadie and paid the cops off, Bumpy said, he thinks. He's in the clear. He laid Maronei's photo on his desk. Tomorrow at the funeral, I'm going to look at Sadie, see what they tried to cover up. Then we find them, the 3 men. And the police, all of them. Everyone who touched this. Everyone who looked away. Sunday, September 12, 1948, 1:30 p.m. Bumpy Johnson stood outside Mount Olivet Baptist Church. He'd stared down mobsters, walked into police stations alone, outlived more shootouts than most. But this walking into a church to see Sadie in a casket, this was different. Finally, he stepped through the door. The place was full. Over 400 mourners. Voices fell quiet when Bumpy entered. People moved aside, clearing his path. His eyes found the casket open. Sadie lay there, dressed in white, hands crossed gently. Her face looked calm. Too calm. From the doorway, he saw the foundation, heavy, mask-like, especially thick on the face. Even thicker on her neck. Then he saw Mrs. Dorothy Washington. She sat in the front row, aged and broken. When she saw him, she stood, trembling. "Ellsworth," her voice cracked. "My baby." Bumpy took her hands gently. She was young, healthy. "How could this happen?" "I know, ma'am. They said heart attack." "But Ellsworth." Sadie wasn't even sick. Not ever. How does a girl like that just... She couldn't finish. She sobbed. Bumpy held her hands tighter. "Mrs. Washington, I swear to you, I'm going to find the truth. I promise. She looked at him, tears falling. You swear? I swear. Bumpy moved to the second pew and sat down. The service began. Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. stood at the pulpit. Sadie Mae Washington was a vessel of God and a gift to this community, he said. She delivered over 300 children. She stood by 300 mothers. She saved lives. Bumpy tried to focus, but his eyes kept drifting to the casket, that makeup. It was wrong. He knew what natural death looked like. You didn't need layers of cover-up unless there was something you didn't want people to see. He studied her from 15 feet away. The neck, the cheek. That wasn't ordinary makeup. It was stage makeup. Why so much? The note had said it. They took her. Wednesday night, she walked home. Thursday morning, she was gone. Cops said heart attack. But people don't cover heart attacks with theater makeup. Bumpy stood up. He didn't mean to. He just did. The organ was playing. The choir was singing Precious Lord, Reverend. Powell was mid-sentence. 400 people turned and watched as Bumpy Johnson walked silently toward the casket. The Reverend halted, mid-sentence. The entire church went still. Bumpy stepped up to the casket and looked down at Sadie, the same girl who once saved his life when she was just 8 years old. The girl who pulled him into her home, stitched his wounds with thread, and later grew into a woman who saved hundreds more. His eyes scanned her face. The thick layer of powder, the unnatural foundation caked along her neck. Then, slowly, deliberately, Bumpy reached down. 2 fingers touched the makeup on her throat. He rubbed. Gasps rippled from the front row. He pulled his hand back. His fingertips were coated in thick, heavy stage makeup. Bumpy turned. His gaze locked onto Raymond Carter, the funeral director, standing rigid near the wall, 53 years old, visibly sweating. Mr. Carter. Carter jumped. Yes, sir? Bumpy's voice was soft, controlled, but lethal. Why is there that much makeup on her neck? Carter turned white. His hands trembled. I just wanted her to look peaceful, sir. Presentable for the family. Bumpy held up his fingers. Peaceful doesn't require this much cover. He turned the hand toward the room. This isn't makeup. This is a mask. This is concealment. Carter couldn't answer. Bumpy looked toward Mrs. Washington, staring in stunned silence. Ma'am, Bumpy said gently, I need to check something. I'm sorry. Mrs. Washington, stunned, gave a tiny nod. Bumpy leaned down and carefully peeled back the white lace collar on Sadie's dress. The room erupted. 2 rope burns deep. Brutal, purple red circled her neck. A woman screamed. Voices rose, crying. Confusion. Men stood from their seats. Bumpy lifted her left sleeve. Dozens of cigarette burns. Neat circles running up her forearm. He checked the other arm. The same. Her hands, torn cuticles. 3 nails broken down to the flesh. Knuckles swollen, bruised. She had fought like hell. Bumpy shut his eyes. 3 seconds. He could see it. The attack, the torture, her cries. When he opened them, his hands were shaking. But his face was stone. He turned back to Carter. Who told you to hide this? Carter was falling apart. Nobody. Don't lie to me. Bumpy stepped toward him. The congregation parted. People who die of heart attacks don't have rope burns. They don't get tortured. And they don't need stage makeup. Then, quieter, but the entire church could hear him. Who told you to cover this up? Carter's voice broke. Officer Donnelly. He came by Thursday night. Said there might be marks. Told me to make her look calm. He gave me $50. Said it was for the family. I have children. A business. You couldn't say no, Bumpy finished. Carter nodded. tears sliding down his cheeks. The church was in chaos, screaming, demands, mourning twisted with rage. Bumpy raised his hand. The room fell quiet. He turned to Reverend Powell. "Reverend," he said calmly, "call the police commissioner. Now, tell him what we found here today. Tell him I'm demanding a proper investigation." Powell nodded, voice grave. "I'll call from my office." Bumpy looked one more time at Sadie, reached down, touched her hand. "I should have been there," he whispered, "but I'm here now. And I promise you every man who did this will answer for it." He looked back at Carter. "You're going to write everything Donnelly told you, word for word, and you're going to sign it." "Yes, sir," Carter said through tears. Bumpy turned to the congregation. Sadie Mae Washington wasn't taken by illness. She was murdered, tortured, strangled, and someone in uniform tried to erase it, tried to silence it. He raised his voice. "But Harlem remembers. And Harlem does not let its people die without justice." The crowd roared fury, sorrow, unity, and Bumpy Johnson turned and walked out. 400 people rose to their feet. Every one of them knew somebody was about to die. Sunday, 6 p.m., Bumpy's office. Bumpy sat behind the desk. Illinois was across from him. 3 trusted men beside him. Illinois laid out the facts. Vincent Maronei, Tommy Riachi, Frank Calabrese, all out of New Haven. "Maroney's the enforcer?" Bumpy asked. "Loan shark." Marcus Washington borrowed from him $800 in January. Disappeared by March, still owed over $1,000. By now it's more than $2,000 with interest. Where are they now? Most likely still nearby. Joey Numbers says Maroney's got family in the Bronx, probably hiding out there till the heat cools. "It's not cooling down," Bumpy said coldly. He picked up the photos. "And the cops?" Illinois dropped a new folder on the table. 6 names, he pointed. Patrick Donnelly first on the scene. Took the bribe, filed false paperwork. Paid Carter to hide evidence. James Murphy, his partner, didn't stop it. Didn't question it. Detectives Robert Walsh and Frank Sullivan both signed off. No inquiry. Dr. Leonard Ashford, medical examiner, signed off without an autopsy. Dr. Philip Hartman co-signed it. Bumpy flipped through the photos slowly. His eyes settled on Walsh. He's the one. Detectives control case closure. He knew. Illinois slid an envelope across the table. Already ahead of you. He laid out photos. Walsh shaking hands with mobsters at Carlo's social club, accepting envelopes outside diners. Hugging his mistress, married. Bank records. 23 grand in 2 years. Way above his pay. "We've been watching Walsh for 4 years, Illinois said. Every dirty deal, every lie." Bumpy's smile was sharp, cold, perfect. Monday, September 13th, 9 a.m. Bumpy walked straight into the 28th precinct, past the front desk, past the uniformed officers who all recognized him, and let him walk. He didn't stop until he reached Detective Walsh's desk. Walsh looked up. I tried to stand. Bumpy dropped a manila envelope in front of him. Sat down across. Open it. Walsh's hand trembled. He looked inside. Photos, payouts, account statements. Olivet. He turned pale. "I've been watching you for 4 years, Bumpy said. Every meal with made men. Every dirty envelope. Every lie you thought no one saw." He leaned in. Sadie Mae Washington was tortured for 3 hours, then strangled. And your men walked in, saw the truth, and wrote heart attack. 6 hours later, the case was closed. No questions. No autopsy. Just paperwork. "I didn't know," Walsh whispered. "You didn't ask. Same thing." Bumpy pulled out 2 more envelopes. One goes to the district attorney. The other? 2. The Genovese family, with a note explaining how you've been skimming off their protection money. Walsh blinked. He understood. Jail or a grave. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. I want you to find Vincent Maronei, Tommy Riachi, Frank Calabrese. They're in the Bronx. You're a detective. And when I find them, you don't arrest them. You tell me where they are. Walsh stared across the desk. You want me to tell you where they are? Bumpy didn't blink. Find them. Give me the address. Or I send both envelopes. Then you'll spend the rest of your week choosing between a jail cell or a body bag. Bumpy stood up, adjusted his hat. You've got 48 hours. Use them smart. And with that, he walked out. Monday, 11 a.m., Raymond Carter's funeral home. Carter was in his office when the door opened. Bumpy stepped in. Illinois was right behind him. Mr. Johnson, Carter stammered, rising from his chair. I was just about to write everything like you said. I know, Bumpy replied, but first I have some questions. They sat. Carter's hands still trembled from the events the day before. Thursday night. Donnelly came here. What time? About 8 p.m., after he'd visited Mrs. Washington. He told her to use our funeral home. Said I was the best in Harlem. What exactly did he say about the makeup? He told me that with sudden deaths, the body can show signs, bruising, discoloration. Said if there were any visible marks, especially around the neck, I should use heavy makeup, cover everything. The family didn't need to see anything upsetting. Illinois and Bumpy exchanged looks. So he knew about the rope burns, Bumpy said, before anyone even saw the body. Yes, sir, Carter nodded. That's when I realized this wasn't just about presentation. Anyone else show? Up that night? Anyone watching the place? After Donnelly left, I looked out the window, saw a blue car across the street. Someone inside, just sitting there, watching. Connecticut plates? I didn't get close enough to see. But it was a blue Buick, Bumpy nodded. Maronei, making sure Donnelly did what he was paid for. Then Bumpy locked eyes with Carter. You're going to write every word Donnelly told you. You're going to include everything you saw. That blue car, the time, you'll sign and date it. And if Donnelly comes back? He's not coming back, Bumpy said coldly. Not to Harlem, not anywhere. That's my promise. Monday afternoon to Tuesday morning, Walsh didn't waste time. Crooked, yes, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew Bumpy meant every word. He started pulling strings, calling favors, asking questions without raising suspicion. By dawn Tuesday, he had an address, a 2-story house in the South Bronx, registered to Tony Maronei, Vincent's cousin. 3 men had been spotted entering and exiting. Blue Buick parked in the garage. Walsh dialed the number Bumpy had given him. I've got your location. Tuesday, September 14th, 11 p.m., South Bronx 2 Black. Cars sat quietly across the street from Tony Maronei's house. Inside, Bumpy, Illinois, and 4 trusted men waited. At 11:47 p.m., the lights inside went dark. At 12:30 a.m., they moved. No noise, no mistakes. One team cut the phone lines. Another disabled the Buick. The house was surrounded. At 12:45 a.m., they entered. Vincent Maronei was in bed when he heard footsteps. He reached for the gun on his nightstand. Opened his door. Illinois stood in the hallway, shotgun in hand. Drop it. Maronei froze. Let the pistol fall. Downstairs, Riachi and Calabrese were already on their knees, hands behind their heads. Tony. Maronei was tied to a chair in the kitchen, stammering. I didn't know, I swear, I didn't know what they did. Then Bumpy stepped through the front door. All 3 men froze. Vincent's face drained of color. Oh no. Oh God, no. Get them in the car. 1:30 a.m., the same warehouse near the East River where Sadie had been killed. Now, the three men sat tied to chairs. Bumpy stood before them, holding a photo. Sadie, in her nursing school graduation gown, smiling, young, bright. Wednesday night, September 8th. You snatched Sadie Washington off 141st Street. Brought her here. Tied her to a chair. He glanced around. Maybe this exact room. You tortured her for 3 hours. Asking about her brother. She didn't know where he was. You didn't care. You wrapped a rope around her neck. You burned her. You beat her. And when she still couldn't give you what she didn't have, you murdered her. Then paid cops to write it up as a heart attack. His voice never rose. Calm. Icy. That about right? Vincent opened his mouth. We were collecting a debt. Bumpy cut him off. You tortured a nurse to death over $800. By September, it was $2,000 with interest. You think I give a damn about your interest? He stepped closer. That woman delivered 300 babies. Saved my life when she was 8. She was family. He held up the photo again. Look at her. All 3 men did. She was 30, never hurt anyone. Spent her life helping people. And you killed her for money. Maronei broke. We didn't mean to kill her. It wasn't supposed to happen. You wrapped a rope around her neck and pulled until she stopped breathing. That's not a mistake. That's murder. He turned to Illinois. Get paper, pens. Illinois passed them out. You're going to write everything. The kidnapping, the torture, the bribe. Every name, every second. And you'll sign. It, and if we do? Riachi asked. Bumpy set a gas can down in front of him. If you don't, we light this place up. Calabracci swallowed hard. And if we write it? Bumpy didn't blink. Then you die quick. They wrote 2:15 a.m. 3 handwritten signed confessions sat on the table. Bumpy reviewed each one, line by line. Cross-checked. Details. Everything matched. Donnelly's name was in all 3. Load them up. 3:30 a.m. The East River. Vincent Maronei, Tommy Riachi, Frank Calabrocci chained, waited. Kneeling on the dock. Bumpy stood over them. Last words? Vincent sobbed. Please, I have children. Sadie had a mother. She was someone's daughter. And she was my family. Bumpy nodded. Vincent screamed as he went over the edge. The river silenced him. Riachi prayed aloud. Hail Mary, full of grace. He was next. Calabracci was silent, shaking. Bumpy looked at him. Anything to say? I'm sorry. I didn't want to do it, but you did it anyway. Calabracci went over last. By 4 a.m. They were gone. Illinois turned. What now? Bumpy stared at the dark river. Now? We deal with the men who let it happen. Wednesday, September 15th to 10:0 a.m. Detective Walsh sat at his desk. No sleep, no food. He'd given Bumpy the address. He knew what that meant. Maronei. Riachi. Calabracci. Dead. The phone rang. Detective Walsh. This is Commissioner Hendress. I need you in my office. Now. His blood turned cold. 10:30 a.m. Commissioner's office. Thomas. Hendress sat behind his desk. Deputy Commissioner Morrison was seated to his right. Captain Riley from the 28th Precinct on his left. Walsh entered. The door closed behind him, and he knew. It had just begun. Spread across the desk were photographs from Sadie Washington's second viewing, The Raw Truth. Rope burns carved deep into her skin, cigarette burns patterned up her arms, bruised knuckles and torn nails that screamed of a fight to survive. Alongside them, a sworn statement from Raymond Carter, detailing exactly what Officer Donnelly had told him to hide. Commissioner Harris looked at Detective Walsh. Detective? Can you explain why Miss Washington's death was listed as natural when it's clear she was strangled? Walsh couldn't speak. Can you explain why Officer Donnelly instructed a funeral director to conceal signs of torture? Still nothing. Can you tell me why you approved closure on this case with no real investigation? Walsh stared down at the evidence, photos, notes, all the things he'd ignored. No, sir, he finally said. Harris leaned in. A woman was murdered, and you wrote up a heart attack. That's not a clerical error, detective. That's not a misstep. He paused. That's corruption. That's obstruction of justice. Suddenly, a knock at the door. An officer stepped. In, sir, we found Maronei, Riachi, and Calabracci, the 3 suspects from Connecticut. Where? Harris asked. The East River. All 3 deceased. Looks like drowning. The room froze. Harris's jaw tightened. How'd they end up in the river? Unknown, sir. But we found something in the cousin's house, 3 written confessions. Full accounts of the kidnapping and murder of Sadie Washington. They also named Donnelly said he was paid $1,000 to falsify the report. Harris turned crimson. He turned back to Walsh. Where is Donnelly? I don't know, sir. Then find him? Wednesday, 2 p.m. Patrick Donnelly was stuffing clothes into a suitcase when the knock came. 6 officers stood at the door. Officer Donnelly, you're coming with us. 4 p.m. Commissioner's office. Donnelly sat across from Harris, Morrison, and Riley, a defense attorney at his side. Officer Donnelly, Harris said evenly, we have confessions from 3 murder suspects who state they paid you $1,000 to falsify an official death report. We have a signed statement from Raymond Carter that you instructed him to cover injuries. We have a corrected autopsy report confirming Miss Washington died from asphyxiation strangulation, not heart failure. Donnelly's lawyer whispered quickly, my client has no comment at this time. Harris leaned forward. Then hear this. He has 2 options. Resign immediately and face charges, or fight this and spend the rest of his life behind bars. You have 1 hour. Wednesday, 5 p.m. Patrick Donnelly resigned from the NYPD. Thursday, September 16th, he was formally arrested, charged with obstruction, bribery, and falsifying state records. He made bail, fled the city, never seen again. The fallout came fast. That afternoon, Harris summoned Murphy, Sullivan, and Walsh. You all played a part in this. Murphy, you stood by while Donnelly buried evidence. Sullivan, Walsh, you both closed a homicide without lifting a finger. He looked at each of them. You have 3 choices. Resign, accept criminal charges, or spend the rest of your careers behind a desk in Staten Island. Officer Murphy chose Staten Island. He filed reports there for 15 years, never saw the street again. Detective Sullivan handed in his badge the same day and left New York behind. Detective Walsh waited until the end of the month, then resigned. Before leaving, he sent a handwritten letter to the Amsterdam News, confessing his failures and apologizing to Sadie's mother. It ran on the front page. Thursday afternoon, Medical Examiner's Office Commissioner Harris visited Dr. Ashford and Dr. Hartman in person. You signed a death certificate without conducting a full exam. You didn't check under the makeup. You missed rope burns. You missed torture. He dropped the updated autopsy report on the table. Dr. Ashford, this happened under your supervision. Ashford swallowed hard. I'll tender my resignation. Do it by morning. He turned to Hartman. You're being reassigned to Queens. Effective immediately. By Friday, September 17th, Officer Patrick Donnelly resigned, arrested, fled. Officer James Murphy transferred, career ended. Detective Robert Walsh resigned, public apology. Detective Frank Sullivan, resigned, left the state. Dr. Leonard Ashford, resigned in disgrace. Dr. Philip Hartman, demoted and relocated, 6 men. Removed from power. Stripped of the chance to ever hide a murder again. Thursday, September 16th. Amsterdam News front page. Nurse Sadie Washington murdered. 3 suspects dead. 6 NYPD officials removed in cover-up. The article didn't hold back. Every detail laid bare: the abduction, the torture, the forged paperwork, the bribe, the silence. And near the end, one more detail. Bumpy Johnson had attended her funeral. He'd noticed what no one else had. And Harlem understood what that meant. He didn't pull the trigger, but he made sure justice came and made sure everyone who tried to hide the truth paid dearly. Monday, September 20th, 1948. Mount Olivet Baptist Church, Sadie Mae Washington's second funeral. This time, the truth was in the open. More than 800 people came. The church overflowed. Dozens stood outside. The casket was open. No heavy makeup. Just Sadie as she was. Beautiful, gone. Reverend Powell stood at the pulpit. Last Sunday, we stood here mourning a woman we thought passed from heart failure, but now we know she was taken. Abducted from her own neighborhood, tortured, killed by men who saw her as nothing but leverage. For 6 days, powerful men tried to hide that, but someone refused to let the truth stay buried. Someone demanded justice, and because of that, 3 murderers are dead. 6 officers are gone, and Harlem knows exactly what happened. He paused. This is justice, not perfect, not polished, but real. Sadie's name will not be erased. Her death will not be forgotten, and those who tried to cover it are gone. Amen. The congregation thundered. Outside, after the service, Mrs. Washington approached Bumpy Ellsworth. He turned. She took both of his hands. Thank you for everything. For not letting them lie. For making sure they paid. For making sure her name still meant something. I didn't do it for thanks. I know. You did it because Sadie was family. Because when she was a little girl, she saved your life. She placed something in his hand. A photograph. 8-year-old Sadie, smiling, 1926, in front of her mother's apartment. Remember her like this, before the world got cruel. Bumpy stared at the photo. The little girl who patched him up with thread and iodine. I'll never forget. September 12, 1948, the day Bumpy Johnson stopped a funeral. Not with gunfire. Not with chaos. With observation. With the wisdom to know that too much makeup means something's being hidden, with the courage to follow a single note left by a terrified neighbor. With the refusal to accept a lie from a system built on silence. Sadie Mae Washington was buried at Woodlawn Cemetery. Her headstone reads, Nurse, Healer, Angel of Harlem. September 14, 1918. September 8, 1948, she saved lives. Harlem remembers, and etched below, added by an anonymous hand, justice was served. If this story moved you, if Sadie's name matters to you, subscribe. Like this video. Drop a comment. Because when the law fails, all that's left is what we're willing to do. Next week. A 12-year-old shoeshine boy. A deadly beating. Dirty cops. And what Bumpy Johnson did that forced the NYPD to finally create internal affairs. Remember. Sadie Mae Washington. September 14, 1918. September 8, 1948. She saved lives. Harlem remembers. Harlem never forgets.